He has his own app and he uses the app. That's a wonderful app. And about the Runkeeper, a user friendly app. I use Runkeeper. I was using Runkeeper whenever I go for speed walking and all that. But now Sidhu Mari runner kadayadu. You know what kind of a barbarian I am. I'm in a different kind of a workout Vijayan. So அதனால டெலோவில் வந்துட்டு ஒருவேளை பாக்ஸிங் நன்ஷாக்கு அவர் ஏதாவது இன்டர்ஃபேஸ் கொண்டு வந்திருந்தாருன்னு எனக்கு அது யூஸ் ஆகிருக்கும். பட் அன்ஃபார்ச்சுனேட்லி அவர் வாக்கிங் ரன்னிங் மட்டும் தான் வச்சிருக்காரு. So I would welcome Sidhu to speak about his first ever entrepreneurship. See, 2004 Sidhu finished his engineering, 2004, and we both were என்ன சொல்றது மிஞ்சி போனா ஒரு 4 years 5 years difference தான் இருக்கும் ரெண்டு பேருக்கும். So அவ்வளோ ஈஸியாக ஜெல்லாச்சு. I've been watching his journey. He went to Singapore. He got his MBA from James Cook University, and then he got another MBA, and then he was working for technical interface in various companies. Adukapra he was working as a trainer. There was always a trainer in him. Na solite irpen. Ipo adanala da vandita I have inducted him in a youth corp training solutions as a trainer. So or entrepreneur அவர் ஆகணுங்கிறது அவருக்கு இருந்த ஆசையை விட எனக்கு ரொம்ப ஆசை. So thankfully he has become an entrepreneur. So I want him to speak about the entrepreneurship zeal and something about Tello, so that it would encourage people like Dakshin Sidharth, Dakshit, Kalpita, Mitra, Balaji, who are all having workout as a regular thing in their life. அவங்களை encourage பண்ணணும்னு நான் feel பண்றேன். So Sidhu, can you speak?
Sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you for those kind words. Actually, this is the second time that I have started something on my own. First time was with So I've got two small kittens which are running crazy because it's raining. Yeah, I've adopted two kittens, so I'm a cat father now. Anyway, so okay, why entrepreneurship? If I didn't fit anywhere else properly. I wish my answer was different. I just wasn't a good fit at any organization per se for various reasons. I just didn't feel like I was part of an organization because it wasn't my vision. It wasn't what I wanted to do in the larger scheme of things. And it's different for different people, right? Today, there is a lot of glorification of entrepreneurship, and I think it's necessary but overdone. Entrepreneurship is super important. It's super tough at the same time, but is necessary for a country like India, which is still, unfortunately, a third world country. It needs a lot more people who do something that they are passionate about and bring the country up in different ways that we haven't really thought about. Right? At least for me and Manikandan sir's parents, we are always taught that you have to get into a job and secure your life through a stable income because someone else has done the hard work of going into the risky realm of things and the uncertain ways of life and brought it up into a stable entity like the MSES, like the Tatas, like the government itself. And these have become stable organizations where loss of job is a less concern today. Whereas in entrepreneurship, you never know when you lose everything. You may not have anything to gain out of it. You'll put in 3 to 5 years and still realize that, it was not worth anything at all. But the amount of experience that you get in those 3 to 5 years, I can easily say will be, equal to a 10-year at a different organization or multiple organizations, right? You have to do everything that comes with running the company. You have people that are, depending on you. You have someone who's entrusted you with their money if you get funded, so on and so forth. So I've always felt the need to do something, and that came very recently, maybe about 6-7 years ago, when my wife asked me, "Oh, what are you doing? Why are you so unambitious?" Until then, I was literally unambitious. I was just doing whatever came my way. I wasn't really focused on what I wanted to do, and the 5-year, 3-year plan எதுவுமே கிடையாது. அது கேட்குறப்போ I'll just write something at the top of my head and give it to them, but I never really had a plan for myself. And if you ask me now, I'd say I don't really have a concrete plan as to where I want to be and stuff, but I definitely want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do something on my own. One thing that I'm super clear about is I want to be able to dictate my life and choose what I do at every instance in life. That may seem arrogant, but what I'm coming from is I want to be the final decision maker of what I'm doing, of my time being spent on something. And I think that is important for everyone to be cognizant of, right? It's your time. You have very limited amount of time on this planet. You might as well do something that you really love. What happens is, because we tend to think of so many different filters, அவங்க எப்படி யோசிப்பாங்க, இவங்க என்ன பத்தி என்ன யோசிப்பாங்க அப்படின்னா யோசிச்சு that it's called FOPO, fear of other people's opinion. Right? There is FOMO, which is fear of missing out, and then there is FOPO, which is fear of other people's opinion. Right? I think FOPO is something that can be really detrimental in people's life. You can care about what people think about you, but don't let your decisions be dependent on FOPO. Right? Ask them what they think about your life. Value their opinions, but don't decide based on other people's opinions, because what will happen is, today you will think that that is the right thing to do, but later on, if things go bad, you will unfortunately point fingers at them and say, avanga sonnadanaala, avanga appadi sonnadanaala na idha senjen. So you're actually giving them the right to choose for you. Then you lose the right to blame them for that, right? Because you didn't choose. And that's something that I found myself in. I've made that mistake, and I don't want to make that mistake anymore. So that's primarily why I like the liberty to do things, create things, and put it out there for people to use. Running has been sort of a passion. When COVID hit, I realized that people are going to get a little more serious about running, and people tend to say that running is boring, and I can understand running can be boring. So we try to make it a little interesting using audio augmented stories. So audio stories where you become a character. When you listen to the story, it puts you in a situation where you have to run, and that's how we get people to run. So the app has been about 6 months now. We have about 6,500 users, doing decently well. But again, after COVID, the lockdown and stuff, it's gone down in usage, because obviously people are not expected to go out for runs. But yeah, we're hanging in there, hoping we'll do well once the lockdown gets over. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sidhu. Thank you. COVID-19 is actually not a disease, it is actually a fear. That's what I believe.
I agree.
It's 80% psychology and only 20% problem. It's just a flu that comes and goes, but அதை வந்து சூப்பர் ஹீரோ ஆக்கிட்டாங்க. ஸோ ஸ்பீக்கிங் அபவுட் சூப்பர் ஹீரோ, தே சூப்பர் வில்லன் ஆக்கிட்டாங்க Thanos மாதிரி. So now the floor is ready for the questions. So Sidharth will be answering. And by the way, my first question to you, before the students jump in to ask questions, when is your next session going to be? And are you going to come up with an activity or a presentation like this next time when you're coming?
So we can do it next week itself, and it could be an activity-based learning kind of thing. I think I've found activity-based learning sessions being more useful, because there is a given very clear takeaway for people. If it's a one-way lecture, I feel bored. I used to sleep in classes, so I expect to do it with others as well.
Okay, so ready?
You know me. I mean, I was very less engaged in class unless the class was really interesting. With the topic was really interesting. In Lati, I'm in a different world altogether. I don't listen to class, and that's why my academics has never been my strength per se.
ஆமா, கிளாஸ்ல பார்த்ததை விட சாயங்காலம் யூத் கார்ப்ல வந்துட்டு தவமா பண்ணிருப்பீங்க. Okay, right. So Sidhu will come back with an activity in a week or so. So once he prepares, we will do it. And tomorrow morning, are you ready for the US batch?
Yeah, absolutely.
4:30. Questions for Sidharth Vijayan, towards Sidharth Vijayan, I should say. Okay, Dakshin Sidharth, AK Dakshit, Mitra, Kalpita. So we are going one by one. Dakshin, you're first.
Yes, sir. So first things first, thank you so much for the presentation, sir. It was really motivational, and I'll try my best to inculcate everything which you've taught us. Sir, my question to you is, today morning in the task sheet, sir mentioned that your friendship started around in the span of 2000 to 2004 in Mahalingam College. And so you've known sir for almost 2 decades now. So, sir, my question to you is, what are some of the traits that you notice in sir, And would you like? What are some of the traits which you notice in Sir that make him like stand ahead of everyone else, like stand different from the rest? What are some of those type of traits which you have noticed in Sir?
It's actually very easy. He is one of those different thinkers, one who has been very clear on what he wants and how he wants to serve community. I've noticed that and one thing that I really admire about him is his closeness with his parents, which for some reason I have not shared that with my parents. For some reason, I don't know why. Anyway, let's not go there. Uh, and his ability to do things the way he wants to, even when situations are not helping. Right, I know him through his struggles when there were a lot of politics in college as well, where people were trying to undermine his ability to do things in a smaller setup, and that was pure politics. Right, people just don't want to give other people credit when they're doing good stuff as well. And I've seen him go through that struggle and come out of it and set up something of his own, which is something that I really admire. And not so and this happens, right? Even when I was in Udumapet, I used to think, "Yo, Udumapetla irundhu enna seyya mudiyum? What can you do by being in a small town like Udumapet?" He's proved me wrong. Right? I ventured out. I went out. I went to different parts of the world, but he has stayed in a small town and proved that's a place where you have to serve and give back to community. Right? And I really hold this really close to myself, that and it seems far-fetched, but when I have the wealth and the ability to, I will definitely come back and give back to the community there. And this is one way in which I'm doing it as well, right? Where I can nurture ideas in a small town, because small towns have unimaginably great thinkers. We don't tend to appreciate them enough. We tend to think that all good things and good people are in big cities. That's never the case. The original thinkers, the people who actually have done well in life, come from smaller places, because when you're small, you tend to think big. When you're in a big place, you have that as a problem. அதாவது மும்பையில் சென்னையில் பெங்களூரில் இருக்கிற இங்கே படித்து இங்கே பிறந்து வளர்ந்தவங்க வந்து they tend to think this as a problem. Whereas when you come from a smaller town, you think that the world is so open. You may be scared at the beginning, but when you start exploring things, you tend to think that, okay, everything is possible. Right? And that's something that I've seen in him. And I know his vision as to how he wants to set up his institute as well. And I really hope that comes true very, very soon. So these are things that I have admired from Manikandan sir, and his work ethic as well, not just with training, but with fitness as well.
Thank you, Uncle.
Thank you so much, Sidhu. Listening these comments from my two definite favorite students of two different ages, Sidharth Vijayan of 2004 model and Dakshin Sidharth of 2020 model. So, rendu perum enna pathi pesikkiradha kekkumbodhu I feel very special. Thank you so much, both of you. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Dakshin. Thanks for asking that question. You never failed to make me feel special. Thank you.
A pleasure, sir.
Right. Dakshit, it's your question now. Come on.
Yes, sir. Sir, my question is, on your journey, what was your greatest fear, sir? And how did you manage to get over it, sir?
Oh, okay. In my journey of entrepreneurship, the greatest fear has actually been something personal, which is playing out right now, and I'm open to sharing it, is losing the people who you love, but they don't really think that you are cut out for it, or they don't believe in your vision. I didn't really have this fear, but it's only now when it's actually playing out in real life that I'm facing it. And I think I am at the stage where I realize, okay, I don't have control beyond a certain point. There's only so much I can control my life. I can't really dictate terms for others, right? So that's one of the biggest fears, right? Losing your near and dear ones because they don't agree with you, because they don't believe in your vision. That is the only fear I have. I have never felt a fear of loss. I have literally no value for money. And that could be a good thing, that could be a bad thing. I think in my case, I don't know yet what it means. Fear of failure has never been something that I have had, unfortunately or fortunately. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but this is my my version of the obstacles that I faced or the issues that I have.
Sir, yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right, that's a good question, Dakshit. Now, Mitra, your question.
So, Uncle, your presentation was really great, Uncle. I really enjoyed your presentation, Uncle. Sorry.
Thanks.
I really enjoyed your presentation, Uncle. So, initially when I attended today's class, I had two questions, Uncle, about how you got the idea of initializing and finding this Tello app, Uncle. But you have answered for that, Uncle. So, one question I have is today morning when Sir sent the link of directly to your website, Uncle, I actually reviewed through all the texts that have been present in that website, Uncle. So finally there was a picture naming founder and CEO of Tello app. So before starting this Tello app, you must have some expectations, Uncle. So now on 12th May 2021, do you feel that your expectations have been fulfilled by the people who are using this Tello app, Uncle?
Oh, definitely no. So, if I understood the question right, Mitra, you're asking what I promised and what has been delivered. Is that being met for users per
Yes.
se? Yeah. So
Yes.
definitely no. And I think the reason why is the app is not at a stage where I want it to be as yet. Having said that, version 2 is coming out by the end of this month, which will get me closer to my actual vision of what the app should mean or should do for users. So what it does is it has multiple audio tracks where you can listen to it and you can run. But what it fails to do is address a certain problem, right? You have to be motivated to run. You have to choose the track that you want to run, and then you have to run, right? So that's only a part problem that was solved so far. In the next version, we would be solving for certain specific issues. For instance, if you have never run in life and you're going to start your running journey, the question which would be asked is, what do you want solved for you? What do you want to achieve? Do you want to run your first 5K? Do you want to run your first 10K? Do you want to lose weight? So these kind of problems specifically, there will be plans for them, and that's what you would be using the app for. So that will bring me closer to the vision that I have for Tello. Having said that, it's always a progressive goal, right? Once you hit a certain goal, then you move on to the next one and the next one. That's how you continuously keep improving. And there's one thing that I've learned from Reed Hastings, I think, yeah, the founder of Netflix, yeah, and yeah. So he mentioned that if you're not embarrassed with the first version that you released, then you're already too late. Right? So that's something that I go by, that you should release soon, get feedback, release updates, and get better at it, rather than waiting for that one fine day where it feels perfect, but you're already too late, or you realize that people don't care about what you built. Does that answer your question, Mitra?
Yes, Uncle, definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mitra, for the question. Now, the next question online is Kalpita.
Okay, sir. Sir, we had a great time with you, sir, and definitely this session is going to have very interesting takeaways for us. You would have experienced a lot of fortunate and unfortunate circumstances, and now you have started your entrepreneurship, which is definitely a fortunate thing. What subtle characters you would like to possess regarding to your profession, which will make great differences tomorrow, sir?
Oh, one. Okay, if I understood the question right, what are the certain characteristics that you would want in yourself to face, bad situations or negative situations in life? Is that the question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. One thing that I can think of. Good question. So one thing I can think of is clarity in what you want in life. That is something that I lacked for a long period of time, and once I got it, it's now very clear. I don't have to think too much. You just have to be clear in what you want from life, and once you have that, things become very simple for you to make decisions around. Right? If you lack that clarity, you will always question yourself. You'll always second guess yourself in every situation. அது காலேஜ்ல இந்த கோர்ஸ் எடுக்கணுமாங்கிற ஆரம்பிச்சு இல்லை ஈவன் லெசர் காலையில இது சாப்பிடணுமா அது சாப்பிடணுமாங்கிறது அந்த டிசிஷன் எடுக்கிறதுக்கும் கடைசியில கெரியர் சாய்ஸஸ் இல்லை when it comes to marriage, this person or that person or marriage at all, and it'll go from varying levels, right? So having clarity would help a lot. It will save you a lot of time and frustration. And then being determined that this is something that you have to achieve no matter what, right? With the ability to, so there is in entrepreneurship there is this term called pivot, which means that if you're going in a certain direction and you realize and very clearly realize that you're going the wrong way, you should be ready to maneuver around or even change directions to a certain degree, right? So you have to have the presence of mind and the ability to accept that maybe you're going the wrong way, and these are telltale signs. You have very clear indications that you're going the wrong way, and hence you need to change direction or course correct when you're doing something which is not leading anywhere. I hope that answers
Thank you,
it.
sir. Yes, sir.
All right, that was a good question, Kalpita. Now the next person is Asatama.
Okay, sir. Sir, very nice presentation, sir. I really like it, sir. Sir, so my question is that some people who might have faced many problems but has lost their hope that they cannot overcome it, even if they have even if they can overcome it. How can is there any way to help them feel that there's still hope?
I didn't quite get the question. Can you repeat it, Shikana?
Oh, okay, sir. Sir, that some people may have faced many problems, sir,
Correct.
and they might have lost, even they have lost their hope, sir.
Mhm.
Even if there are ways to overcome, sir, is there any way to make them feel that, give them some hope, sir?
Oh, all right.
Yes, sir.
So, like I mentioned, Ashwathaman, if you have the clarity in mind as to where you're going, let's just take a simple example, right? You're going from Pollachi to Ooty, all right? You know where you want to go, and there are three ways to go there, right? You can go through Coimbatore, you can go through XYZ. I don't know the exact route. I'm just giving an example. Right? When you're going from Pollachi, you take route number 1, but you find that there is something wrong. There's something. So what I'm trying to draw as a metaphor is when you're going on the path that you have taken, there is a roadblock. You can't take that road. What would you do? Would you go back to Pollachi and say, no, it's done? Would you do that, Ashwathaman?
No, sir.
You would take route number 2 or 3, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and that is happening only because you know that you have to get to Ooty. For whatever reason, Ooty is just an example. I'm saying that when you have your end goal very clear and you know that it's non-compromisable, it's a no compromise goal, you will find your way to get to your destination. You will not have excuses which will come. People will give you all sorts of excuses, and those excuses will be valid, right? They'll say, oh, மரம் விழுந்து கிடக்குது, இப்போ என்ன செய்ய முடியும், திருப்பி வீட்டுக்கு போயிடலாமே, இதனால என்ன, what's the big loss, ஊட்டியோ அப்புறமா கூட போய்க்கலாமே, we can go next month. People will give you suggestions and they will be acceptable, and others will agree to it as well. But if you are very clear that Ooty is a destination not just for a pastime, but I have to get to Ooty because of XYZ reason. Again, Ooty is just a example. That could be a goal in life, and you are very clear that this is why you need to get there. It is so important for me that I am not going to stop at this. I will find a way out of it. That's the only way you can keep yourself going towards the target. Otherwise, you will find millions of reasons to stop yourself and go back to point zero. But the only thing that can help you is the clarity in where you want to go and why.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
That's a beautiful answer, Sidhu. That's a good question, Sutaman.
Thank you.
Now, Brinda, you're next. Your question.
So, sir, your presentation was really very nice, and the way of presenting, while you're presenting, make us to think is really amazing, sir, and also inspired by your story, sir. So, my question is: in any part of your life, you said as 2 activities, that is, think of a scenario. So, any part of your life did you practice it, sir? Like, what made you to practice that that activity, sir? Because while I am thinking, I got really very much deep into it. So did you got any experience like that, sir?
The session, with respect to the session you're asking, Brinda.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that happens almost every day, right? I may not have a mythical character per se, but I think on a daily basis, whenever situations come, for me, one thing that I've made sure, or two or three things that I go by, is there is this phrase that you would have heard of, "Iduvum kadandu pogum." That is something that has helped me a lot, and something that we don't understand with this phrase. It comes from a story, and I'm happy to explain that story as well. Is it does not apply only for bad situations, but it applies for good situations, which is more important for you to understand, right? Whenever something super duper good happens in life, you have to understand that iduvum kadandu pogum, right? The good things will also pass, the good times will also pass, and you will have hardships. People don't associate this phrase to good situations. They do it only when hardships come. And the reason why I say it's important for you to have a level-headed attitude towards life is whenever something really good happens, you should celebrate it, but always assume or always understand that this is also temporary, and you will have hardships. So you are ready for both, and you don't get super excited with a high, or depressed or go into a low when there is a negative situation that happened in life. So I do practice this on a daily basis. Something that I do is I don't have a gratitude journal per se, but my prayers, when I do pray every day. Previously, when I was a child, or even until 5-6 years ago, when I used to pray to God, it was asking something. Almost always, it is asking to give me something or give someone else something. Of late, in the last 4-5 years, my prayers have shifted in saying a thank you for everything that I have and everything others have. And it's never about asking for anything anymore. It's already saying thank you for what is there. And if there is something that I want for someone else or for myself, I already say thank you for it, right? It may seem a little fake, but what I'm doing in my mind is I'm always already have that vision in mind that it has happened, and so I'm saying thank you for it, right? Rather than asking when it comes from a place of lack. When you ask for something, it assumes that you don't have it, and so you're asking God for it, right? I've always now I've shifted that dialogue or the conversation that I have with God, where I'm saying thank you for something that I don't have, saying thank you for already wishing it in existence, kinds. I don't know. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, sir.
Definitely.
Thank you, Binda.
Definitely. So the last two questions for you.
Sure.
One is from Mridubhashni. Mridubhashni.
Sir, sorry, sir. Would like to unmute my mic, sir.
Yeah, you can ask the question.
Yes, sir. So, sir, my question is, you are now an entrepreneur, and you are and to that, you will definitely face some problems in it. And how did you face it, and how did you overcome that problems?
Okay. So just previously, what I said, right, in terms of having an end goal and very clear and vivid clarity on where you're going helps me in taking decisions that this is where I want to go, and it's non-negotiable. It makes it easy for me to take decisions when I have to make a choice between two options or multiple options, which is the one which leads me to that goal that I want. And I am of the strong belief that everyone in their sane mind will have goals which are good for them and others. If you are a person who has a goal which is always self-fulfilling and not helping others, it will last only a certain amount of time. When it doesn't come from a place of serving a larger entity than yourself, it will have a very short-lived life. When you do things which are going to impact a lot more people than just yourself, it lives a longer life. That's my strong, thought process, at least.
Okay, so Vishnupriya, you said you don't have any question, but you would like to say you're learning. Is that?
Sir, I got a question, sir. So I'd like to ask questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Yes, sir. So, Uncle, it was a very nice presentation, and there are lots of takeaways from that presentation that you made, Uncle. thank you so much for it. And my question to you is, many of the people might have the ambition to become an entrepreneur like you, Uncle. So what would you advise to them for becoming an entrepreneur?
Okay. So one is the why as to why you why they want to become an entrepreneur has to be very clear. And there is a right and a wrong in this. It's not a gray. There is no gray in this. Like if you're in a gray zone as to why you want to be an entrepreneur, you shouldn't be an entrepreneur. And if it is about the money, if it is about the fame, if it is about the glory of being an entrepreneur, then again you're in the wrong place. It should be something bigger than yourself. It should be from a standpoint that this is going to solve something for even one person or a million billion people. Doesn't really matter. But if it solves a problem which is not just you, right? It's not a self-fulfilling prophecy where it's only serving you and no one else, then you've got your why wrong. So the why is extremely important as to why they want to be an entrepreneur. Once they answer that, that solves 90% of the problems, right? You know that this is a need for people around you, for yourself, and for other people. That's one thing. And then the other thing is always seek help. Right? Many people tend to not get into entrepreneurship because they think that they don't have the support system. But you will be surprised to see how much people are willing to help you when you ask the right set of people. Surround yourself with the people who encourage you, but not build dreams in you just with air. Surround yourself with friends who are listening to you, critique you, ask questions, but don't pull you down. Right? Be around people like the set of people that you are in this group and with Sir and everyone else, where you are encouraging. So something that I pointed out in the last session as well, and I appreciate in this session as well, is how you appreciate each other. But yeah, so that's super important, right? Build your community around people who are uplifting, who have sort of a positive mental attitude and are encouraging and are willing to give rather than take, right? So, and always be ready to seek help, always be ready to ask silliest of questions. No question is silly enough for you not to ask it, right? Don't be fearful of the negative outcome. The moment you pull yourself and say, like, it sounds very silly, then you've already lost the opportunity to answer that question. You've answered it for yourself. You've already said no to the question. Don't be in that state. Always be willing to open up and ask for help, and seek help. And you'll be surprised how many people are there to help you out in that journey. And again, I'm saying entrepreneurship is not the be all end all, right? People can find solace and find their happiness in a job. They can find the same at service. Today, when I was listening to a podcast, I heard that service comes from the word serving, which ideally should not have a pay, which is something that is so revealing to me, that if you're in government service, ideally you shouldn't expect to be paid, is what the person was saying. Yes, you have a pay, that's good, to support your family and stuff. If they're doing it as a job, then they should get paid for it. But if you come from a place of service, then you shouldn't expect to be paid. And I come from that thought process. If I'm building something which is for people, I shouldn't be worried about how much I get paid for it. You will get paid for it because you're doing it with all your heart, and you will get paid for it how much you need. But if you keep getting greedy, then it goes in a different tangent altogether. Again, I went on a tangent. I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, very much, Sidhu. So we have got the last 3 minutes in the session, and we have two volunteers. One, Dakshin Sidharth wants to ask one last question, and two, Balaji wants to say his learning. So Dakshin, you're on.
Thank you, sir. So, Uncle, I always wanted to ask you this question. Sir mentioned that you're an Arsenal fan. Since this is the last span of time we have, just quickly wrap it up, Uncle. What inspired you to be an Arsenal fan?
Okay, so it's a funny scenario, right? 1996. I don't know if you were a cricket fan at that point in time. I don't know if you were even born then. But yeah, I used to be a huge cricket fan at that point in time. I had no clue about football. I used to play it once in a while, but I never used to watch football. 96 is when we lost to Sri Lanka in Calcutta. Just one second. Toffee. The kitten's trying to climb the TV now. So that's when we lost to Calcutta in Eden Gardens, and it was a crazy match. And finally, it ended up a match-fixing case where India lost because they threw the game away because they were paid. And that's when I lost hope in sports per se, or cricket more specifically. And that's when I explored other sports, and that's when I started watching football. And at that point in time, Arsenal wasn't the invincibles at all, right? They were invincibles in 2000, 2001. But for some reason, the way in which they played the tiki-taka football, you would be able to understand that. The way they played their game was something that was unique. It was talked about. And that's what made me gravitate towards Arsenal. I was always, I don't know, for some reason, I always wanted to go to London. So I did a little bit of research and found out that they are a club in London and stuff. And that's when I started following them. And since then, the Arsenal trajectory went up. And off late, you know how it's been for the last decade or so. It's been a slump, and I don't know when it's going to get over. Hopefully, with Arteta, it might change.
இதுதான் நீ கடைசியா கேட்கணும்னு நினைச்ச கொஸ்டின்.
Sir, actually I was going to rule out this question, sir, but uncle said that எது இருந்தாலும் கேட்டுருங்க, hesitate பண்ணுங்க. So
all right, you mentioned it yourself.
Thank you uncle for answering.
Thank you.
Okay, so the last thing that is pending in the agenda is Balaji's learning, and I have one last question, and that will be the culminating thing for our today's session. Balaji.
So I learned today about how to express the bad things we had in life, and how to bring our superior inside ourselves, and how the superior characteristics will be, and how to solve the problems as a superhero. So this is the things I have learned from this session, sir.
Okay, so that's a good one, Balaji. So, Sidhu, this answer for the question that you are going to give for this question, that will be a culminating thing for the session that we had today. You're no longer a guest here to give a word of thanks and something. You're going to be a part of our sessions in the forthcoming days too. So, you have Mitra, the 9th grader. You have Kalpita, Dakshin. No, Kalpita, Vishnupriya, Brinda, 10th graders. Dakshin, the 11th grader. Dakshit, the 12th grader. Balaji in college. So, I want you to
and
take
Siddhi, the 4th grader, right?
And Siddhi, the 4th grader.
Yeah.
I want you to take this time machine and go to 9th grade, and then come to 10th, come to 12th, and come to college. You see Asathaman, Mitra, everybody. So, அவங்களையும் உங்களையும் அந்த ஸ்டேஜுக்கு கொண்டு போய் கம்பேர் பண்ணி டிஃபரன்ஸ் எனக்கு சொல்லுங்க. How they are now, how you were.
Okay.
Obviously, you were not in any training at that point of time. இவங்க அட்டெண்ட் பண்ற ட்ரைனிங் அப்போ உங்களுக்கு இல்ல. So,
I wish.
Just to,
I wish I had these kind of sessions then. Yeah.
So, Sidharth, the 9th grader, first.
Let me give the comparisons as to what I see in them, and that will obviously bring out what I didn't have in me at that point in time, or I didn't express that side of me, right? The ability to get onto a session and discuss things and problems in life. At that point in time, I didn't even know if I had problems in life. I'm pretty sure I did, but I never had the thought process to be part of a community which can help each other. And that's something that I really appreciate, and that's thanks to you that you've created this community of people, students, who are sharing things with each other, encouraging each other, and helping them seek clarity, which will go a long way in life. I'm pretty sure this is going to have a lot of positive impact in their upbringing, in their life towards success. And I wish success for everyone. That's something that I wish I had. I might have had, I just overlooked them because I wasn't seeking them at that point in time, right? 9th, 10th is when I came and joined in Udmapet. Until then, I was in CBSE and had friends, but they were mostly buddies to play sports with, and talk about different things in life. Never had any vision per se, right? I told you the vision in life as to what I wanted to do came in the last probably 6-7 years. Until then, I was just going, tano with life as it came out in front of me. I never had a particular goal in mind, and I see that everyone here has something, even if it is remote, not clear, but I'm sure that will come up very soon, right? When you understand that life has, there is a reason why you exist. There is something that makes you happy. Something that I would strongly encourage everyone to do is find your happy spot, right? What is it that makes you really happy, and pursue it. It may not become your career. It doesn't necessarily always have to be your career, but if it's a passion, pursue it on the side all through your life. It will give you that happiness when you feel low. Right? For instance, I've seen people who want to be a musician, but thought that music could never become a career, and so they became a banker, or they became, a lawyer or whatnot. But because they pursued singing on the side, it gave them the outlet to express and leveled their frustration whenever they were frustrated. And if they had not pursued that on the side, imagine what would have been this situation when they go through lows in life. They wouldn't have had an outlet to vent out the frustration. They wouldn't have had a positive outlet for giving peace of mind. If you can make it your career, and I can vouch for the fact that everything that is a passion can become a career if you give it enough time and focus and attention. But most people tend to, and this is coming from the place that parents or grandparents don't understand it, because the world has changed now. Right? Anything can become a passion if you find the right way to do it. Right? And I think a person who is cleaning the ditch has as much importance as the prime minister. I know it sounds ridiculous, but can you imagine a city where there are no people who are cleaning the ditches? Imagine in 2 days you will feel like leaving that city or the town. And they have as much importance as a person who is the prime minister of the country. So don't look and give weightage for the money that is coming into your bank account at the end of the month. Give weightage to the happiness that is coming into your heart at every single moment. That will take you a long way in life.
Fantastic answer, Sidhu. Very nice. So, Sidhu, thank you so much for taking your time. I have swallowed 2 precious hours of yours.
No, I've taken time from your 1 hour session, so sorry about that.
It's okay. Somewhere I felt that people need more dosages of the angle of thinking that you brought in today's session. So that's why I sacrificed my second half and I gave it to you. So I can postpone my proceedings any day. Even tomorrow I can do that. So that's not a problem. So people will be looking forward to your session, and maybe next week or so, once you prepare, take a lot of time in spearheading the module or the activity that you're planning for. You are under no pressure whatsoever. Consider this home. So நீங்க எப்படி கொண்டு வரீங்களோ தாராளமா நீங்க கொண்டு வாங்க. எனக்கு 1 day in advance சொல்லிட்டீங்கன்னா அதுக்கேத்த மாதிரி schedule.
And if there are any suggestions, if you have something that people have asked for, if I can be of any help in those, it might give me sort of a guidance as to what to tackle in the session as well, if there are any indicators already.
Now, the activity, even like in the gaming activity, Mariana, like putting them into teams and then giving them adventurous basis. Na thoda genre illa, thriller, horror, adventure, abindra marila activities, scenario, creative storyline, adella solve பண்ற மாதிரி நிறைய கொண்டு வந்திருக்கேன். இவங்க அதுக்கு ஆக்டிவ் ஆயிட்டாங்க. நீங்க கொண்டு வரது அந்த மாதிரி இருந்ததுன்னா I would be really happy.
Sure, but how will the physical activities play out, sir?
So அது கொஞ்சம் ட்ரிக்கியான விஷயம் தான், but we will put them into thinking. So pick a team. Let's say, for example, last year when we were having this complete online model, 2 டீம் இருந்துச்சுன்னா 2 டீமுக்கு தனியா ஸ்கைப் குரூப் நான் செட் பண்ணிடுறேன். அவங்க குரூப்புக்குள்ள டீம் டிஸ்கஷன்ஸ் வச்சுக்குவாங்க.
Okay.
So அதே மாடியூல்ல நம்ம பண்ணிக்கலாம்.
Okay. Sounds good.
Physical activities நான் கொஞ்சம் கிரியேட்டிவா திங்க் பண்ணிருக்கேன் சிது. கீழ டவுன் ஸ்டேர்ஸ் ஒரு ஹால் இருக்கு. அங்க these people used to play physical activity.
I've seen that. I've seen the videos.
Yes. ஒரு டீமுக்கு பதிலா நானும் மித்ராவுமே ப்ளே பண்ற மாதிரி இல்ல. I'm involving some other kids also. So அவங்கள டெபியூட் பண்ணி அவங்களுக்கு பதிலா இப்ப நீங்க உங்களுக்கு பதிலா நான் ப்ளே பண்ற மாதிரி அப்படி டெபியூட் பண்ணி ஒரு டெபியூட்டட் மாடல் அது மாதிரிலாம் கொஞ்சம் கிரியேட்டிவா பண்ணலாம்.
Okay.
So come up with the ideas. We will invigorate the ideas in development.
Sounds good.
Okay, Sidhu, having said that, so once again, I would like to thank Sidharth Vijayan for helping us,
Thank you.
helping all of us
Thank
to
you.
learn something. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Uncle.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Uncle.
Thank you so much.
Next time you call me uncle, I'm not going to come for a session. So please either call me Sidharth or Sid. Or make it a point to call me Sid at least, please.
Okay, so அதுக்கு நான் ட்ரைனிங் கொடுக்குறேன் ஏன்னா அவனை யாரையும் பேரை சொல்லி கொடுத்தது. So okay, so we will stick on to the point, addressing him as Sid because he feels comfortable. On the right. Any other points? Any other things? Because we are going to close the session. It's 6:39 already. Anybody else?
No, sir.
Okay. A former. Thank you. Sir. Thank you, please.
So thank you so much, Uncle.
Sid.
Sidhu, please. Mitra's மட்டும் ஒரு
Okay.
So thank you so much, Uncle, for your presentation, because the last presentation you made was about dreams, and it was one of a very big presentation that you made. Totally, you have visited MS evening sessions for thrice, including today's session, Uncle, and we have felt really peaceful and really comfortable with your session, and it really helped us. We came to know about the importance of dreams, and today we are able to inculcate a new idea, Uncle, that is how we could discover ourselves and where we are standing and all our talents, and being a superhero and having the characteristics of all those superheroes whom we admire most and whom we like the most. So we had a very good session today, Uncle. Thank you so much, and we are hoping that we would have a lot of sessions pretty much like today's, Uncle. So thank you so much, Uncle.
Thank you, Mitra.
All right, Sidhu. So we will together say bye to Sidhu, and we will meet tomorrow. So tomorrow, whatever pending, Dakshin Sidharth, you hear me?
Yes, sir.
So the team charades activity that we were having yesterday will be continued tomorrow. So,
Okay, sir.
So Sidhu, நீங்க பிளான் பண்ணிட்டு எனக்கு அடுத்த செஷன் எப்போ அப்படிங்கறத எனக்கு ஒரு சார்ட் பண்ணி சொல்லுங்க after you plan.
Sure.
Yeah. And we both will meet tomorrow by 4:30 a.m. in the morning.
Yep. Sounds good.
So does that intervene your running schedule?
No, I'll go after that.
Okay, fine. So US batch is different, Sidhu. இங்க தக்ஷன் சித்தார்த்தோடைய கசின் அங்க கிரண் ஒரு பொண்ணு இருப்பாங்க. So அவங்கள விட கொஞ்சம் மத்தவங்க எல்லாரும் சின்ன பொண்ணுங்க தான். So we will make it simple, but this content is really going to be very interesting in that place also.
All right.
Right, Sidhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Dakshin.
Sir, tomorrow in the US batch, sir has class. I mean, sir is going to speak, right, sir? So after after the class, may I join and see the recording, sir? Is it fine, sir?
Yeah, why not? Anybody can do that. Indian batch எல்லாருக்குமே அந்த லிபர்ட்டி இருக்கு.
நான் சொல்லலாம் நினைச்சது தக்ஷன் சார்.
ஜாயின் பண்ணலாம். இந்த பிரசன்டேஷன் தான் பண்ணுவோம் அப்படின்னு நினைக்கிறேன். I am not sure if he is having a different kind of a presentation. Video recording யார் வேணாலும் பார்க்கலாம். ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை இல்லை.
Okay.
So, yeah, Ashwathaman.
Sir, tomorrow will I get a chance to do a presentation, sir?
No. We have pending things. அதை முதல்ல முடிச்சிடலாம். அதுக்கப்புறம் I have another activity. The activity-ல பார்த்துக்கலாம். So presentations, ஏன்னா before CRS finishes, Skype online regular format-ல I will have to conduct a full-fledged activity. நீங்க ஏற்கனவே கல்ச்சரல்ஸ் நிறைய டைம் எடுத்துட்டீங்க. So நாளைக்கு ஹாஃப் செஷனோட முடிச்சுட்டு I will have set foundation presentation later.
Okay, sir.
Sir, I have one more.
Yeah, by the way, online format-ல Skype-ல presentation will be very ineffective. So we will think about that. Yeah, Dakshin, what is it?
So the foundation of the next activity will be sent in the group, right, sir, in the morning?
No, we will be speaking about it. ஏன்னா குரூப்ல அனுப்பிச்சா யாரும் ஒழுங்கா பாக்குறது இல்லை. 5 பேர் தான் பாக்குறீங்க, மற்றவங்க யாரும் அதை பாக்குறது இல்லை. So I noticed something like I am seeing Dakshin, Mitra, Kalpita, Vishnupriya, Brinda, Aswathaman, and Mirdubashni.
Sir, I also see that daily dark sheets, sir.
சரிடா. ஸோ வேற யாருக்கும் சரியா போறது இல்லை. வாய்ஸ் வந்து யாரும் அதிகமாக கேட்கறதும் இல்லை. நேற்று அனாஸ் வந்துட்டு தில்ல என்கிட்டயே சொல்றான். ஸோ ஐம் நாட் கோயிங் டு ஸ்பெண்ட் டூ மச் ஆஃப் டைம். ரொம்ப கஷ்டப்பட்டு டிராஃப்டிங் எல்லாம் பண்ணி ஒர்க் அவுட் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கிறதுக்கு நடுவில் ஆடியோ எடுத்து பேசி அதெல்லாம் வந்து இப்போ ஒர்த்தியா யாரும் ஃபீல் பண்றது இல்லை. ஸோ ஐ எம் ரிஃப்ரைனிங் ஃப்ரம் ஆல் தேட். பட் இங்க நீங்க வந்து டெடிகேட்டடா இருக்கும்போது நம்ம பேசி தீர்த்துக்கணும். அதாவது that's how I have planned. So we are going to speak about the foundation only during the session, not in the talk sheet.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So Sidharth visiting thrice or 4 times in a month, is that a problem? One question இல்லை உங்களுக்கு. Is it okay?
Sir, jolly இருக்கு. I mean நல்லா இருக்கு, sir.
Yes, sir.
Nice, sir. Very nice.
Good. Definitely. அவன் என்னை விட ரொம்ப புத்திசாலி. நிறைய விஷயங்களை ரொம்ப சிம்பிளா சொல்லி கொடுப்பா. அப்படி ரொம்ப முக்கியமான மேட்டர். என்ன மாதிரி கோவக்காரன் கிடையாது. சிம்பிளா இருக்கும். So you have multiple learning. So let's see how it is going. Okay. 6:45. So we will meet tomorrow. So if there are no questions, I really appreciate all of you for cooperating so well. So Asathaman, Balaji, Brinda, Sibi, Dakshin Sidharth, Kalpita, Mirdubashni, Vishnupriya, and Mitra. Thank you so much. See you tomorrow. Keep channeling strong. Continue the therapies. Continue the idea pair writing. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, sir. Thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir. Bye, everyone. Bye, sir. See you tomorrow.